It was a Tuesday, just another Tuesday. The sun had dipped below the horizon. In a quiet apartment, Alex was unwinding as the television murmured in the background. Nothing felt out of place. Nothing hinted at the storm that was about to break. It was a comfortable rhythm of predictability that we all take for granted. The apartment was a sanctuary, or so it seemed. Life was unfolding in millions of ordinary ways, unaware of the strange ripple that was about to disturb the calm. The universe has a funny way of reminding us just how thin the veil between the known and the unknown truly is. And on this particular Tuesday, that veil was about to be ripped wide open. Before the phone rang, before the familiar became terrifying, in the grand, silent theater of fate, the curtain was about to rise. The sudden piercing ring of a cell phone sliced through the quiet. It was an unwelcome intrusion, a sharp jolt back to reality. Alex glanced at the phone, expecting a late-night call from a friend, or perhaps a spammer trying to sell an extended car warranty. The little device vibrated on the wooden coffee table, its screen glowing with an eerie light. It was a familiar sound, one heard a dozen times a day, yet this time it felt different. It felt heavier, charged with an unspoken urgency that made the hair on Alex's arms stand on end. A simple ring, yet it seemed to echo with a strange, dissonant frequency, a warning bell in the silence. Leaning forward, Alex picked up the phone, the screen's light bright in the dim room. And then, a moment of pure, unadulterated confusion. The screen didn't display a friend's name or an unknown number. It showed something impossible. It showed Alex's own name, Alex's own number. The caller ID was a perfect mirror, a digital reflection staring back with impossible clarity. A wave of disbelief washed over Alex. Was it a glitch? A prank? The mind scrambled for a logical explanation, for anything that could make sense of the nonsensical image glowing on the screen. It had to be a mistake. It simply had to be. The phone continued its relentless ringing, each vibration a small shock wave of unease. Alex's thumb hovered over the green answer button, a profound hesitation taking hold. Who could be calling from their own number? The question looped endlessly, a carousel of confusion and growing dread. Every rational thought screamed that this was a technical error, some bizarre spoofing trick that telemarketers were using now, but a deeper, more primal instinct whispered something else. It whispered that this was not a glitch, that this was something new, something that defied the rules of the world as Alex knew them. The insistent ringing was no longer just a sound, it was a countdown. With a shaky hand, Alex finally made a decision. The curiosity, the sheer strangeness of it all was too powerful to ignore. Maybe it was a friend playing a sophisticated joke. Maybe it was a sign that the phone was broken. Any explanation was better than the cold, creeping fear that was beginning to coil in the pit of the stomach. Taking a deep breath, a breath that felt like the last calm one they might have for a very long time, Alex swiped the screen. The ringing stopped. A new silence fell over the room, but this one was different. It was not peaceful. It was heavy, expectant, and filled with a chilling, static-laced dread. The line was open. Alex pressed the phone to their ear, heart pounding a frantic rhythm against their ribs. "Hello?" The word came out as a cautious question, barely a whisper. At first there was nothing but a wall of static, a crackling, hissing sound like a radio tuned between stations filled the earpiece. It was the sound of an empty connection, a void. Alex was about to hang up, dismissing it all as a bizarre but harmless prank, a technical ghost in the machine. But then, through the noise, something shifted. A faint sound emerged from the digital snowstorm, a sound that was both alien and terrifyingly familiar. It was a voice, a whisper, strained and desperate, fighting its way through the static. And it was Alex's own voice. There was no mistaking it. It was the same pitch, the same cadence, the same unique timbre. But it was different too. It was a version of their voice they had never heard before. It was raw, ragged, and trembling with a profound terror that seemed to bleed through the phone line. It was the sound of someone who had seen something unspeakable, someone who was being hunted. The voice was a ghost, an echo from a place of pure, undiluted fear. It was the sound of their own soul screaming. The whispered words that followed would be seared into Alex's memory forever. They were simple, direct, and absolutely chilling. "Don't go to work tomorrow," the voice pleaded. Each was sure shit had so giggly or syllable laced with panic. There was no explanation, no context, just a raw, desperate command from the other side of the static. The voice on the phone was not just afraid, it was terrified. It was a level of fear Alex had never experienced, a fear that felt ancient and absolute. The impossible truth began to settle in, cold and heavy as a tombstone. This wasn't a prank, this wasn't a glitch, this was real. The line went dead. The static vanished, replaced by the deafening silence of the apartment. Alex stood frozen, the phone still clutched in a white-knuckled grip, pressed hard against their ear, as if trying to pull more information from the void. The whispered warning echoed in the stillness of the room, looping over and over again. "Don't go to work tomorrow." The ordinary Tuesday was shattered. The comfortable reality had cracked, revealing a terrifying abyss beneath. Alex was alone in the quiet apartment, but the feeling of being watched, of being connected to something horrible, was overwhelming. A single question screamed in the silence of their mind. What happens tomorrow? This silence after the call was heavy. Alex lowered the phone, staring at the blank screen. The device felt cursed, a conduit to something impossible, a prank. But who could mimic their voice? Sleep was impossible. The apartment felt like a cage. The world was warped. Paranoia sprouted in the late night hours. Alex tried to rationalize. AI voice cloning, but the fear felt too genuine, their own terror. As dawn approached, exhaustion set in. Don't go to work tomorrow. A choice based on an impossible call. The longest night was ending, but the nightmare was just beginning. The morning alarm shrieked. Alex flinched, silencing it. Sunlight streamed through the blinds, exposing the sleepless anxiety clinging to Alex. The world was waking up, oblivious to the impossible decision weighing on Alex's soul. Should they go? Should they stay? Alex stumbled into the kitchen, moving on autopilot. Coffee maker on. As the coffee brewed, the voice from the call echoed, "Don't go to work tomorrow." To call in sick would be easy, but what if nothing happened? The rational part of Alex's brain screamed that this was insane, but the other part couldn't shake the genuine terror in that voice. Getting dressed for work felt monumental. Staring at their reflection, Alex saw a stranger. The phone buzzed, a text from a colleague. Running late saved me a donut, a reminder of the people waiting at the office. The time to choose was running out. Alex checked the bus schedule, the pull of normalcy too strong. Alex grabbed their bag and walked out the door. The world seemed stubbornly normal. On the bus, Alex began to feel the tension ease slightly, but then small things started to feel off. Alex's paranoia came creeping back. They saw their colleague Ben through the bus window. Alex's heart began to beat faster. The web of normalcy was starting to feel thin. Alex's phone vibrated. "Where are you?" "Power just went out on our floor." So weird. The warning slammed back into their mind. Don't go to work. The office building was visible. Every instinct screamed to stay on the bus. Alex stepped off the bus. The office building loomed ahead. The text about the power outage was unsettling. People were walking in and out of the lobby. Alex took a deep breath, trying to silence the frantic voice of fear. Inside the lobby, the atmosphere was subtly different. There was a low hum of chatter. The security guard looked tense and distracted. The whispers were everywhere. Each snippet of conversation was a small, sharp jab of anxiety. Alex made their way to the elevators. The elevator doors remained stubbornly closed. They would have to take the stairs, 10 flights of stairs. The stairwell was eerily quiet, as if they were ascending towards a terrible fate. They were walking directly into whatever the terrified voice from the future was trying to save them from. One more flight, one more floor until they reached their desk and the source of the nightmare. Alex stood on the 9th floor landing, the silence a stark contrast to the storm inside. Each detail felt like a breadcrumb leading to a trap. The whispered warning echoed, "Don't go to work tomorrow." Regret was a bitter taste. What if something terrible waited on the 10th floor? Panic crashed over Alex. This was wrong. The instinct to flee was overpowering. The thought of their desk seemed alien. They had to get out. Alex turned and scrambled back down the stairs. The only thought was escape. They burst into the lobby, needing distance from that building. Alex tumbled onto the sidewalk, gulping in the cool morning air. A block away they slowed, leaning against a brick wall to catch their breath. A profound sense of relief washed over them, but the relief was shattered by a deafening boom that seemed to shake the ground. People on the street screamed, ducking for cover. Alex's head whipped back toward the office building as black smoke billowed out. Chaos erupted. Alex stood frozen, paralyzed. It had been a warning about death. Alex's phone began to ring. The screen showed Sarah's name. They answered, but there was only screaming. Alex could only listen as the sounds of chaos poured through the phone. Then the line went dead. The minutes that followed were a blur. Police, fire trucks, and ambulances arrived. The street transformed into an emergency zone. First responders cordoned off the scene with yellow tape. Alex, part of the crowd, stood unable to look away. Firefighters, paramedics, and police filled Alex's view. The air was thick with smoke. People emerged, some walking, others carried. The crowd buzzed with fear, phones recording. Alex knew this wasn't an accident, it was an attack. They had been warned by themselves. Guilt replaced the initial shock. Sarah had texted them. Ben and their colleagues were inside. Alex was safe only because of a warning they couldn't explain. Why them? the relief of survival was poisoned by guilt. The chaos faded into a grim routine as police cordoned off the area. Alex stood apart, unable to leave. A detective in a plain suit approached, eyes sharp, scanning the crowd until he fixed on Alex. "You work in the building?" he asked. Alex nodded, voice caught in their throat. "Name? 10th floor? Right? You're marked present on the sign-in sheet, but you're out here." The detective's gaze was heavy with suspicion. "How come you're out here, Alex, when all your colleagues were inside?" Alex's mind raced for an answer. Knowing the truth was impossible to share. The question hung in the air. Alex was now the anomaly, the survivor with no explanation. The detective's question echoed, isolating Alex from the crowd. I wasn't feeling well," Alex stammered. "I got dizzy in the stairwell and came back out for air." Detective Harding made a note, face unreadable. "Did you see anyone unusual? Hear anything strange?" Alex recounted the tense lobby, the outage, the anxious crowd. Harding handed Alex a business card. "Don't leave town. We'll be in touch." The interview ended, but Alex was now a person of interest, their story full of holes. The impossible phone call had saved Alex's life and made them a central figure in the investigation. Days blurred together. Alex, confined to their apartment, watched news of the tragedy and felt the weight of guilt. Summoned to the precinct, Alex faced more questions, their story picked apart by detectives. The police requested Alex's phone to check call logs. Panic surged. Would the impossible call appear? A technician checked. Call logs are clean. No incoming calls after 9 p.m. Alex stared, stunned. The call was gone. Had they imagined it? Was the warning real or just a product of trauma? The ghost on the line left Alex questioning their own sanity. Leaving the station, Alex felt relief and dread. The call was gone, but so were any answers. Back home, Alex scoured news and company files for clues. The attack was targeted, professional. Why their company? Digging deeper, Alex found a locked folder. Project Cassandra. The name echoed, a prophetess never believed. In old office photos, Alex spotted Ben talking to a stranger with cold, watchful eyes. Zooming in, Alex recognized the face, Detective Harding. The real mystery wasn't just the call, but who was truly behind the attack. The face in the photo was unmistakable. Detective Harding at the office party with Ben. The lines between investigator and suspect blurred. Was Harding involved? Was Ben's anxiety connected? Alex saved the photo, fear sharpening into paranoia. Every sound in the apartment became a threat. Was Harding watching? The detective's shadow loomed over Alex, turning survivors' guilt into a fight for survival. The danger was no longer faceless. It had a name, and it was watching. The encrypted folder was named Cassandra. Was this what Ben was working on? A dangerous truth someone would kill to keep quiet. Accessing the file became an obsession. Alex worked frantically, trying to bypass the encryption, searching for clues in Ben's files. Each failed attempt ratcheted up the tension. This file felt like their only weapon. Remembering a book Ben mentioned, Alex tried the author's name and a chapter number as the password. The folder unlocked they were in. Inside was a video file and a text document. The text file contained a chilling message from Ben, a confession and a warning. The company's algorithm had predicted the attack on their building. Ben's message described the Cassandra project, a predictive analytics engine being tested for a powerful client. It predicted a violent attack on their office, but management dismissed it. Ben believed the prediction and tried to warn them, but was silenced. He suspected the client was involved, testing the engine's accuracy using their company. The message ended, "They know, I don't have much time. The proof is in the video." He left a password, the name of the one who sees, but is not seen. Alex realized it referred to the client. Then a calendar notification appeared. Argus, with a password in the notes. It was a message from beyond the grave, a final piece of the puzzle. The password Argus glowed on the phone screen, a spectral message delivered from beyond the grave. It was Ben's final move in a game he had already lost. A key entrusted to Alex, the last person standing who could unlock the truth. With a hand that trembled, with a mixture of fear and reverence, Alex typed the complex string of characters from the calendar note into the password prompt. Every keystroke felt monumental, a step deeper into a conspiracy that had already claimed the lives of so many colleagues. The line between being a survivor and being a target had long since vanished. Now Alex was something else entirely, the keeper of a dead man's secret. A secret so dangerous it had warranted a massacre. The enter key clicked with an air of finality. For a second the screen froze, and Alex's heart hammered against their ribs. Then the video player opened. The file began to play. It wasn't a recording from a security camera or a hidden device. It was a screen recording captured from Ben's own computer. The video showed him navigating the complex interface of the Cassandra predictive engine, his cursor moving with frantic speed across charts and data streams. He was running simulations, testing variables, trying to find a flaw in the system's terrifyingly accurate prediction. The desperation was palpable in the jerky, rapid movements of the cursor. Ben was a man racing against time, trying to find proof that would convince the world of the coming doom. He pulled up lines of code, internal memos he had sent to management, and their cold, dismissive replies. He documented everything, building a case file against his own employers and their mysterious, all-seeing client, Argus. He was creating a digital time capsule of the truth. Alex watched, mesmerized and horrified, as Ben laid out the entire conspiracy piece by piece on the screen. The video was the smoking gun. It was undeniable proof of corporate negligence, of a deadly cover-up, and of a shadowy client using human lives as data points. Alex felt a surge of vindication. This was it. This was what could clear their names, expose Detective Harding, and bring justice for Sarah, Ben, and everyone else. They were no longer just a paranoid survivor with an impossible story. They were a witness with irrefutable evidence. The power dynamic had shifted. The fear that had held them captive for days began to recede, replaced by a fragile, burgeoning sense of control. The video was their shield and their sword. It was the key to their salvation, or so they thought. Ben compiled his evidence, saved the file, and encrypted it. He opened voice modulation software, loaded a recording of his voice, and began to transform it into Alex's. He dragged the audio file into a phone spoofing application, entered Alex's number as both the caller and recipient, and set up the impossible call. It wasn't a voice from the future, but Ben faking the entire thing. The miracle was a lie, a calculated deception. The saving phone call was a fabrication. The silence was absolute, broken only by the laptop. The revelation left Alex adrift in a sea of terrifying questions. Why them? Why did Ben choose Alex? Was it random, or was there a connection Alex couldn't see? They were not lucky, they were selected. A tool designed to bring a dark conspiracy to light. The evidence was a paradox. The video proved the conspiracy, but also proved Alex's alibi was a fake. To show the video would expose Harding, but also expose Alex as a liar. Alex's phone began to ring, shattering the stillness. The caller ID was not a name, it was Alex's own name. It was happening again, but how? Ben was dead. A summons from an unknown reality. Would you answer?